All right. The triangle of hormonal health. This is something I learned when I studied with functional kinesiology with the lovely Laura Knowles and Claire Snowden Darling. So, the triangle of hormonal health, for some reason, I've just thought of pharaohs and Egyptians and Cleopatra. The triangle. Welcome to my world, wonderful people. But what does this mean? For God's sake, is this something else I've got to learn, Abby? No, no, this makes life a lot easier. So, when we look at the triangle of hormonal health, right, we see we have our self esteem, we have our fear and anxiety, and we have our lack of joy, right? Do you want to go a little bit deeper? Yeah, I do. So, top of the triangle, when I talk of self esteem, we're talking about our blood sugars. We're talking about insulin and glycogen. I won't get too deep about it because it's not about you burdening yourself further, and you're not looking to become a doctor or a nurse. So I get it. You just need to know how to feel great. And this will help you. I promise. I'm going to share, or the image of this will be shared in the next section for you to use, or underneath in these comments. So, self esteem. When our blood sugars are all over the place, our self esteem can shift and we start to have these emotional roller coasters. Yeah. Sometimes, like anxiety can be in there. There's that trigger or overwhelm. So we've got blood sugars, which impacts our self-esteem and our ability, our confidence to do things. When we come into the fear, anxiety, and overwhelm, this can bleed into our stress response. So this is our adrenaline and our cortisol. Yeah. We then come to the lack of joy, which is our sex hormone. So this is our progesterone and our estrogen. So that triangle of health, to recap, right? Blood sugars, self-esteem, they start to change when we come into perimenopause because of these hormonal changes. Everything starts to shift. Yeah. So our blood sugars start to change, and the food and nutrition that is required to anchor those. We see that protein is very important. And if we don't have enough of this is when the self esteem can start to crumble slightly. So, does intermittent fasting and fasting work for you? Just curious. Because if you are suffering from bouts of low self esteem and that lack of confidence, perhaps having breakfast might help. We then move into the other corner of our triangle, fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. This is our stress response. If we are living off our adrenals, if we are being bombarded with toxic load, if we're being bombarded with to dos, calls to actions, mobile phones, buy, buy, sell, sell, we can start to see cortisol, which is actually, it's not an inflammatory marker. It's perimenopause steals your words, doesn't it? Who's with me on this one? Doesn't cause inflammation. It can actually be in the reverse of that when it's working as it should do. But when we are constantly stressed and we're not eating as our body requires, not badly, take that word out, as our body requires, again, this can trigger more cortisol in the body and more inflammation. And then this drives the adrenaline and this roller coaster. We love a roller coaster in perimenopause, don't we? Just love it, which drives the fear and anxiety and the overwhelm. So we've got these two sides of our triangle, right? We then come into the sex hormones. And when our estrogen and our progesterone start to change, there is that slump, right? Do you get that? That slump, that like someone's you're functioning, but someone's taken the battery out of it, like your impulse, your drive, like your sass. Mm. But we can see that when these other corners of our triangle aren't functioning fully, it can have an impact. So whether it is your blood sugars that are out, it's going to impact your fear and anxiety, your stress response, and your sex hormones, yeah, and that lack of joy. If it is your adrenaline and cortisol that's out and it's driving the fear and anxiety, it can drive the other corners out, your blood sugars and your hormones. Can you see what I'm saying? So if we can use this triangle as a reference point, we can say, right, my self-esteem feels like it's at rock bottom. This week, have I really been feeding myself as I needed to? Just a thought. I'm feeling really anxious and overwhelmed all the time. Hmm. What stress have I been placing on myself? Mm. My hormones are out. What's going on there? I'm not feeling that joy of life. What's going on here? And we can look to these other corners because it's not necessarily the issue. The issue isn't necessarily in that moment. It can be from something else. And I know this might feel overwhelming and different, but once you start to get into this triangle, it makes life so much easier. Now, repercussions of this triangle going out of sync are your immunity and your digestion. So again, if that's out, your digestion's out, what within the triangle could be causing that? Is it your blood sugars? Is it your stress? Is it your hormones? This really is a wonderful tool that you can use, and I'm here for you if you want to look at this deeper. Just give me a shout or jump in the Peri chat and ask us anything. Like, we've got so many spaces for you to get down and fully dive into this and enjoy it, because that's what it's all about, right? So your triangle, have a look at the image and let me know if you've got any questions. Nice one.